that kind of leads us into what happened last night. For those of you who did not see, I didn't see it. I saw a lot of people talking about it on my Twitter account. I follow the person who asked the question.
Yeah, fill me in here.
So there was a question last night at the media scrum. Because last night was WWE Fastlane.
Okay,
Iyo Sky. Yes, I'm about to tell her what she used to go by. Iyo was in there, and she was asked by a man if she would wrestle Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And it got, and then I think her answer was, "Are you crazy?" or something like that, something along those lines. She did later on, she tweeted a picture and it was her and her title. And she was like, who's the next person to challenge me? It's not Taylor Swift or something like that. So I get, on the one hand, Taylor Swift is obviously, a lot of people are talking about her because of, she's got a lot of things going on. Obviously, there's the Travis Kelce thing. But from what I understand, there were either a lack of women in the room as far as journalists go, or there were no women at all. And so I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on the question that was asked. Was it appropriate to ask in a scrum, or is it something that's more for a personal blogger? Like, just what are your thoughts on questions like that in general, and the questions that women tend to get in these type of situations?
Okay, I'm going to preface everything I have about to say. I don't watch WWE. I don't. So I don't want to give anything in bad faith. I did catch like the last few minutes of the Asuka Iyo Charlotte match, just because like I do like those people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a question I would have asked, and I will be honest, it's not a question that I would have even thought of. Like I would, and I don't think a lot of women would have thought of, specifically Black women would have thought of. And the reason why I say this is that we're already taken so unseriously when it does the wrestling, because there's this, this decades old assumption that when women want to be in wrestling, it's solely because we want proximity to wrestlers.
Yep.
And we want to, and that's what we want.
Groupies.
Like that's the groupies, ring rats.
Yep.
Ring rats.
Ring rats.
We want access to it's the same. I mean, I said this to Sam last week, and I know that she's not as much of a gamer as me, but some of the things that went on with the misogyny that came out of that situation was directly related to women being accused of wanting proximity to high-level game journalists and things like that. And it was the same thing. They went straight for you just want to sleep with these guys. And it's like, back the truck up. Like,
right.
No, that's simply,
right.
That's no, actually trying to like do this job. And so, I mean, I would have answered. I wish she had answered in Japanese, actually.
And so I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. And I don't think it was a good question. Like,
no, it wasn't.
And this is why, and I don't know how WWE media scrums are set up. But
me either, because I've never been to one. I don't cover WWE, so I'm in the same boat.
I can only speak from like my limited experience of what I know from AEW scrums, and also what I know from just other press conferences from other situations in my professional life, because I have been in several, so that whether that's been political press conferences, college football conferences back when I was in college, or obviously the AEW ones. I just don't think that the question was relevant, and like the way that scrums and press conferences are typically set up, they're not interviews, so it's not like one person being able to ask over and over again.
Sure, right.
I would always say, I just don't understand like where that would come from. I have to be honest, I just don't know where that would come from. I understand this was super popular, but also at the same time, Iyo had just wrestled like a 16-minute match,
something like that. Yeah,
two of the best women's wrestlers in the world.
Right.
I genuinely don't believe that there were nothing else that you could have asked, and I think that it just makes it all very unserious. Like I will say, like, and the thing is, wrestling journalism is already very, very like different than other forms of journalism, where not like a lot of people, went to school for journalism or really understand the core tenets of journalism. Like even for me, like I do have a minor in journalism.
I have my degree is in communications with a focus in journalism. So
exactly. So you know, and I just, it's weird. Not, and here's the thing, I don't know the guy. He could probably do really great work outside of this, like, but I just don't think that the question was appropriate. And I know that other people would literally kill to be in these rooms, and I think especially for WWE. There's so
and that's how, so, and I've seen that argument too. They're like, well, it's WWE, but that's not the point. Like, the point is, first of all, if that really, well, if it's WWE, then the question should have been Cardi B, because Cardi B says she wants to go to WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
So that would have made more sense.
At least be educated.
Right.
100%. And that shows that you've been, you know, keeping up with, keeping your finger on.
Because Cardi B even did an interview like what, a week or two ago, and she was talking about, like,
I think she was on Hot Ones, like,
and she was talking about wanting to be on WrestleMania and like what, like
Melina. She said,
right, yeah. So I was like, that would have, I mean, it still would have not been appropriate for a media scrum after she just wrestled that match. However, that would have made more sense than Taylor Swift. And yes, I get Taylor Swift is in a lot of topic and a lot of conversation right now. And people are like, oh, well, Bill Belichick is being asked about that. Okay, but that's in the NFL where she's at these games. That's a little bit different. But this is a women's champion and women are already, like, it's hard to get you to you don't take women's wrestling seriously as it is. And then you're asking questions about Taylor Swift. That just perpetuates the fact that you don't think women's wrestling is serious, is how I feel that it comes off. And then and like, from somebody else said that they, like, nobody apparently asked about Jade. Like, you didn't ask the champion. Jade is here. She arrived in the pre-show. What do you think about Jade being here? Do you think she's a threat?
They actually replayed that clip right before the women's match. Like, I had read that. Yeah, it was really weird. I'm gonna be honest, like, the Taylor Swift stuff, it annoyed me. What really, really annoyed me more was the asking John Cena to touch him. That was what really.
Yeah,
and touching him on camera, like there's a video of him actually going to touch him. Because if any woman had done that, the label that we would have gotten, like, imagine, I can't imagine, like, imagine if Wrestler J and Kenny Omega, can I touch you?
Right.
Yeah. And what would you, and then that would be, Lyric is only there because she wants to meet wrestlers and she wants to physically touch them. That's what the narrative would be.
That's the narrative. Like, that's literally the narrative. That's the narrative. Like, I can't even imagine the stuff that wouldn't even, and I think that's the thing. These are things that wouldn't cross women who are serious about this, that ever cross their minds.
Right.
Nothing that we would ever even think about, because we know we would be buried. I tweeted it. I said, imagine if a Black content creator got up there and asked Bianca Belair, when is she going to wrestle Beyonce? We would have gotten laughed out of there.
Oh my God, the Twitter hate.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, I would have had to delete my account.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, it's one thing to, because I was thinking about, because for the company that he writes for, it's a wrestling news company in the UK. So perhaps that's the clickbait type of things that they like. And I'm sure his bosses are happy with
tabloids there.
But in a media space like this, it's different. Like, if he was conducting an interview one-on-one with Iyo and had been asking some other things, then throws that out there, there's a difference between interviewing someone and asking these questions than being in a media scrum where you've got, or on a media call where you've got one question, one shot, and that's the question you go with, and it doesn't do anything. Women are having a hard time getting women's wrestling, especially in WWE, to be taken seriously. Not just in AEW and WWE, where they've been, women we had to have hashtags about give divas a chance. They were getting bra and panty matches. Now you've got somebody of Iyo's caliber, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world,
easily.
And this is a question you ask her, like, be serious.
I mean, it's constantly happening. Like, even like 2 scrums that I've been to, not 2 that I've been to, actually 2, because I wasn't at All Out, but I obviously watched it. And then Wrestle Dream. It's like the lack of questions for Chris Statlander.
Yeah,
and, like, people are prepared. Like, and so this is happening. Like, it's not just a WWE thing.
It's happening in both companies. Yeah, and people, and even on, like, I've heard it on media calls, like, because I generally, even if I don't get to ask a question, then I generally am live tweeting these, and it's so funny because I always say, see, wrestling journalists slash content creators ask softball questions, and you need to ask more serious stuff. Well, then you have this happen, and then they're like, oh, it's fine, it's funny, it's pop culture. Well, which is it? Which standard are you holding us to today?